What is going on, Notre Dame fans? Mike Singer from blueandgold.com here with our beat writer Tyler Horka. New video here talking Notre Dame football. We're kind of in a slow period right now, guys. It's not much going on, but that's going to change pretty quickly next week, the 17th on St. Patrick's Day. Not only the big pot of gold recruiting day for the Irish, but also the first day of spring football. So make sure you lock in at blueandgold.com. But the biggest recent news here in Notre Dame football is the injury of, what is he going on his third year starting at Notre Dame on the offensive line? Center Jarrett Patterson. Um, Reports broke Thursday that he is out. Um, Tyler, what's the injury? How long should Notre Dame fans expect for him to be sidelined?
Yeah, so it's a pectoral injury, and there's kind of a lot of variables there. The extent of the tear, obviously, how much of a surgical procedure had to get done to the chest of Jarrett Patterson. So there's a lot of things at play. Obviously, he's out for spring ball, so that's the immediate news. Is for the second spring in a row, Notre Dame has to replace Jarrett Patterson at center, and I think it's going to look a lot similar to what happened last spring. Obviously, when Zeke Correll kind of filled that hole and the dynamic has changed a little bit with Zeke Correll because at this time last year, he was a guy that replaced Patterson in the 2020 season and actually played some big games, including that last game of the year against Alabama at center. So now, fast forward a year, you're looking at a guy in Zeke Correll who probably does not have a future at center at Notre Dame, like a lot of people thought he might have. And I don't know if he has much of a future at guard either. So I think a logical play is honestly plugging him in. If he's still locked into this team and he still wants to help the team out, the thing that Zeke Correll could do right now is slide into center and just fill that void that's left by Patterson. So I think short term Zeke Correll is the guy. Obviously, long term, I think Jarrett Patterson will probably be back for fall camp. They're going to need him back for fall camp because think about this: Notre Dame has a new quarterback, whether it's Tyler Buckner, whether it's Drew Pine, somebody other than uh, the guys who have started the last few seasons for Notre Dame, Ian Book and then Jack Cohn, is going to be the starter for Notre Dame in 2022. And you need a rapport between your center and your starting quarterback. So hopefully Patterson is back by the fall. I mean, that's what, 5 months from now, 6 months from now. He's got a pretty good time to heal, but it's just any way you slice it up, when you lose someone from the starting offensive line, it's not a good injury, especially going into spring practices 10 days away.
Yeah, you bring up a couple good points in that, like, look, Jared Patterson's got all the experience in the world. We're not worried about him getting extra development. That's not the top concern. The more of the concern is that offensive line unit meshing and being able to do that this spring. With also, you need, that camaraderie or whatnot between the quarterback and the center. They need to be able to click and know the cadence real well. Is that kind of the bigger concern here in your opinion, Tyler?
Yeah, definitely chemistry. But like I said, hopefully that chemistry is something that can uh, become a thing in the fall, which is more important than the spring anyway. Right now, I think these coaches are a little bit more focused on individual efforts. So, save and another guy though is Josh Lugg, who is also coming off an injury. I'm not quite sure how much of a participant he will be in spring practices because he missed the Fiesta Bowl with a knee injury. So again, that's an extent of the knee injury. Some of these knee surgeries we see some days, especially if you guys follow basketball. Like I don't know how some of these guys have like a scope and then all of a sudden they're playing a couple weeks later. I'm not sure if that's going to be Josh Lugg. Obviously, he's got time to get over that if that's what the coaching staff elects. But yeah, so Josh Lugg moving over to right guard, is that a thing? Is he going to be ready for spring practices? Will we see him there? If not, does Rocco Spindler get some run? Does Tosh Baker get some run at the guard positions? I think the spring session is going to be a lot about finding out what Notre Dame has individually across the line. Then you get to the fall and it's like, okay, we want these five guys and let's get these five guys on the field at the same time.
Tyler, one thing I'm going to push back on you a little bit is Zeke Correll. He was really good at the center position for Notre Dame in the 2020 season when he spelled Patterson there. Guard, to me, when he got the nod there, left guard start season, it was kind of weird. Like, it felt like he was a center or nothing else. Like, versatility wasn't something I would use to describe Zeke Correll. Um, which is fine. Like, if you're a center, then you're a center. Go do that. I'm still hopeful about him as a center. I guess my point here. Um, And look, you got Harry Heastand. Maybe Patterson does slide outside. Maybe he does really like Zeke at center. So let's talk about the Notre Dame offensive line. I guess give me a starting five for this spring with Patterson out. And then when this unit is completely healthy this fall, what would you like to see out there? Again, you have a new offensive line coach, so Joe Alt left side, Fisher right side. What we saw in the Fiesta Bowl, maybe that's not the case for Harry Heastand.
Yeah, so to your first question, I'll go off the assumption that Patterson and Lugg are both not spring participants. So the left side of the line, I don't think you can mess with it. You have Joe Alt, you have Andrew Kristofic. Those guys were dynamite down the stretch last season, really stabilized not just the left side of the line, but when those guys got together over there, I think the entire offensive line was better as a result. I'm with you on Zeke Correll at center. So he might have a crazy career path where a guy stays for what? This is Patterson's sixth season, right? Or is it just a fifth year? I don't know. Some of these things I get. Anyway, he's here for an extra year.
Fifth year. Yeah, fifth year.
Yeah, Correll might have a crazy experience where it looked like he was going to be able to start at guard or center right away, and then all of a sudden you're 3-4 years later and he's finally starting at center. So I'm with you. I would put him at center. Right guard, like I said, if we're working on the assumption that Josh Lugg is not healthy, Rocco Spindler, I think it's finally his time. I think he's gotten second team reps. We saw him third, second team somewhere in there during fall camp last year. You'd have to think throughout the season he progressed into a more of a two-string role. I would put him at right guard during the spring, and then right tackle Blake Fisher. There's not much more that needs to be said there.
Yeah, so guys, make sure you hit the thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to our channel if you're not yet. $1 from 1 year of premium access at blueandgold.com. This is really a fantastic time to sign up. Huge recruiting weekend next weekend. Pot of gold, ton of offers. Spring ball starting up. We'll have tons of coverage, and 4 of our writers will be at that first practice. So definitely a lot to check out there. It's funny you mentioned the words "finally" for Rocco Spindler. Like, man, how much has college football changed that he's just going into a sophomore year. We're talking about finally, it's just a different ball game now. And then healthy starting five. Tyler, what would you like to see there?
Yeah, I mean, 2 months ago I would have said Alt, Kristofic, Patterson, move Lugg over to right guard, Blake Fisher at right tackle. Now I'm not so sure. I wish Josh Lugg was completely healthy because I would love to see what he looks like at guard. But I think I'm going to stick with that. So I said it 2 months ago. I would say it right now. But again, that left side of the line is solid. If Patterson comes back, that's 3 of the 5 right there solid. And like I said, Blake Fisher is surefire right tackle. For me, it's all about that right guard position right now. And if Lugg was healthy, this would be a chance for him to solidify that. With him not being healthy, like I said, Spindler, Tosh Baker, Carmody is in there who got some run on the left side. So there's some guys upward, of a handful who could use this spring session to try to get some reps there at right guard.
What a deep and talented offensive line unit. My goodness. You look at it with that projected offensive line, the experience with Lugg and Patterson, even Kristofic, and then Joe Alt and Blake Fisher. Not as much experience. They're just going in their sophomore seasons. Fisher only played a game and a half. Alt only started half a season. Man, do they look like first-round talent. So it's a very impressive Notre Dame offensive line. And then you talked about some of those guys who won't start but could at many places. So really good offensive line unit.
With all those names, and like you said, where there's not experience, there's a ton of talent. Like Joe Alt and Blake Fisher aren't your most experienced guys, but they're probably your most talented guys. It's just no wonder Harry Heastand came back. I think he saw the wealth of riches. He saw all the optimism around Marcus Freeman and where Notre Dame is headed right now. And he's like, I have to be a part of that. I have to be a part of that offensive line and just what Notre Dame has going on specifically as well.
All right, Irish fans, hit the thumbs up on this video, and we will catch you guys next time.